All right, so this is Mike from CoachMePlus. We're going to walk through our exercise 1-rep maxes and the difference between a shared baseline and an exercise baseline. So I'm going to start off with the simple of shared baselines. I'm just going to start off by a quick definition of it. A shared baseline is a baseline that you can enter through testing in CoachMePlus, and it can be applied to multiple exercises. So obviously, if you have a back squat 1-rep max, you can apply it to your back squat. But the difference with shared exercise 1-rep maxes is that it's shared. So you can apply that same thing to a front squat if you'd like as well, and say I want to program 60% of my back squat 1RM for a set of 5 of front squat. You can do that without having to create a separate 1-rep max. And the way you enter those in is going into testing, selecting a testing group, and instead of selecting one of the testing batteries, we'll select the opposite header. We'll go into shared 1RM, and then we have our out-of-the-box 1-rep maxes that happen when you download CoachMePlus for the first time. These are all in there, and they can all be used and applied to exercises. One thing I will say is there's a lot of repetition in here that we're trying to clean up. So there is a back squat and there's a squat. There's a bench and there's a bench press and there's a chest. So there's a lot of things in here that you might want to clean up or just avoid, or just make sure that if you're going to use back squat, always use back squat, so on and so forth down the line. But if I were to go ahead and select back squat in here, I can enter it in for my athletes. If it was a true 1-rep max, I could just type it in and it gives me here your calculated 1-rep max is 300 pounds. If you rather and do a 3-rep max test, this will auto-calculate using the NSCA Landers equation. You can see it here. If you click it, it'll link out to the equation and give you a little bit more explanation, but it'll auto-calculate an estimated 1-rep max for this. If you don't do a true 1-rep max test, you can see it changes from the 1 to 3 to 5, the difference in load. Once you save this, this is now the new shared baseline for this athlete. And then you can go ahead and take that and apply it, of course, to your back squats, to your front squats, or to any other exercise that you want to calculate a percentage off of this specific 1-rep max. Before I move on to exercise 1-rep max, I'll show you that you can actually, as an admin of the system, edit your own baselines. So if I were to come over back to the side menu and jump into admin portal and jump into settings, and then training, I can see I have right here baseline. And in this, I have my list of baselines. So I can remove them if I'd like. If I don't like the redundancy of bench and bench press, I can take that and take it off of my list and really whittle this down. So I already have a back squat, I don't want squat. I can whittle this down to the ones that I like. And if you don't want to use exercise 1-rep max and you'd rather have a shared 1-rep max, you can also create your own. So say I want one for full clean. I think I already have clean in here. So let's use for a full snatch, my 1-rep max. I can enter in my own formula. This gives you the general format of it to reference weight times reps times 0.25 or whatever it may be. If I leave this blank, it uses the NSCA Landers equation. So I can just use that if I'd like. And now I have this added onto my shared 1-rep max. I can use that to program off of now. So it's entirely how you want to use it. You can customize it. You can delete ones that you know you'll never use, or just to get rid of redundancy. And then you can create your own for other things that you care about. So that's shared 1-rep max, and I'll demonstrate how to apply that to an exercise once we get to Program Builder. So I'm going to slip back to App View and jump into Program Builder, and we'll talk about how exercise 1-rep max is utilized. So exercise 1-rep max is basically, it means that any exercise within your library, so any given exercise in here can be programmed and given its own baseline that just stays specific to that one exercise. So it's not shared. If you use exercise 1-rep max for back squat, it just applies to that back squat exercise and does not get utilized. It can't be attached to a different exercise. So that's the difference between shared and exercise 1RM. But if I want to use just exercise 1RM and put it into a test set in a circuit, I'll create a circuit here, and I'm going to add an exercise to it. So say I want to use back squat. Here we go. I'll throw that in. Now I have barbell back squat in here. I'm going to actually jump into create a set progression here. And then from here, I'm going to go ahead and say I want a 3-rep max. It doesn't matter the percentage when you're using a test set. It really doesn't, because it's just going to calculate off of the weight times the reps for it. But say I want that, and then I'm going to create 3 sets after that by hitting just copy and paste, or 4 sets after that. And then over on this, change properties or edit tests, I can say edit tests. And now I can say I want test set, and this is exercise default. which is back squat, I can use a different shared baseline. So if I hit next, it's going to say which baseline do you want to use. But I'm actually going to change the properties to just weight for a second, and then change it back to 1 rep max. So now I can say, do I want to use exercise baseline or shared baseline? A little clunky, but there you go. If I say shared baseline, that's where I select back squat from my shared baseline. If I leave this unchecked, I hit apply. Now this becomes an exercise 1 RM. If I were to go back to my program, it's going to say, hey, missing a baseline. So now I say here, this is going to be my baseline. This is my test set number 1. I'm leaving this unchecked, so it's not a shared baseline. It is now barbell back squat specific to this exercise. It's going to be an exercise 1 rep max. So save it. There we go. I can see my little clipboard. Here's my test set. The athlete's going to enter that data, and then let's actually change this up so we can actually calculate something. Let's just say 80% down the board. Now, once my athlete enters their 3 rep max on set number 1, the next 4 sets are going to calculate off of what that number was estimated off of the Landers equation for the barbell back squat. So I save it. There's my test set. It's in. It's good to go. And there we are. And just to demonstrate the difference between exercise 1 RM, so that was an exercise 1 RM. I'm going to go to barbell front squat. I'm going to add that to my circuit. I'm just going to say we're going to do 4 sets of 5. And now I'm going to go ahead and change the properties of it and say I want 1 rep max. I want to use a shared baseline. Apply, and I want to go based off of back squat. I want to say, squat 60% for 5 reps of your back squat for your front squat. So it'll pull any back squat 1 rep max, the latest 1 rep max of back squat out of the system. So you can utilize that. And again, if I didn't have an existing back squat 1 rep max in the shared baselines, it would say missing baseline. You'd have a little danger sign there saying missing baseline. This athlete this exercise has one. Once I assign it to an athlete, so I built that circuit, I'm happy. I'm just going to snap it onto a random program day, create a new one. We'll have it start today just for the sake of time. And then I'm going to go to my library and select my test set demo. Select it. There we are. So I have my barbell back squat with set 1 as my test set, and barbell front squat is referencing back squat for 60%. Last step, obviously, is just shoot it out to an athlete or a group of athletes. So going through my assignment really fast, I'm just going to assign it to 1 user in the system. We're just going to assign it to Cole Wepner. Done. Continue. I'm just going to have it start today because it is today. All right, there we go. So now, way I can double check here is I can go into athletes and go into Cole Wepner's assignment. And there we go. We have test program. You can see what he has today. Just want to take a peek. So I have 2 things here, missing athlete baseline. So there's your danger sign there. So this is taken care of because barbell back squat right here is my test set. This one here, so this is where you kind of run into the issue. Barbell front squat's referencing a shared baseline. This is going to go into the exercise baseline. So since this athlete doesn't have a shared baseline for back squat, this is not going to calculate. So there's your warning there, so you can address that. So if I want to quickly, before I jump in as an athlete, now I know Cole Wepner needs a back squat baseline. Here he is. I'm just going to put in a simple number, not 3,000 pounds. That would be wild. All right, so there you go. So his new 1 rep max is 300. So I'm happy with that. What I'm going to do now is just jump back into Program Builder and double check. So this is on his assignment. Here we are. Now it's no longer missing that baseline on here. And this one is going to be corrected by the test set number 1, so we don't have to worry about that one. But since this is shared baseline, I had to shore that up before he was good to go. So I'm going to save it. Now I'm just going to go real quick. I'm just going to impersonate Cole Wepner, and we're going to run through the athlete view of what exercise 1 RM and a shared baseline looks like. They pretty much look like exactly the same thing once all things boil down. So we'll go take a peek. All right, so I'm Cole. I'm going to go to my training menu. I see my assignments. I have test program. I'm going to jump in. Here I am. I, as the athlete, do not see that it's a test set. It says 100% 1 rep max. So maybe as a coach, add in a note on that exercise saying this is a test set. Just do your best performance of 3 reps. Enter that weight. So say he did 3 reps at 285, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and complete that. Now, all of these change from this is 80% to this is 80% of the new 1 rep max, which has been calculated at 285. So it's now 242.5. He rolls through, it auto adjusted, and there you go. He can go ahead and finish his 4 working sets of 3 at 242.5 or 243 if you want to round up. Just a note as well, if you wanted to use this a little bit of like an APRE, or if you want multiple changes, you can do that. I can say, as a coach, I can say set 1 and set 3 are test sets. So we tested out 3 rep max 285. We did a set 242. Now I want you to test again, another 3 rep, whatever that calculates. We do the last 2 sets, or however you want to roll it. You can do multiple test sets within one progression. So just keep that in mind. It's a way you can utilize it. But outside of that, I go ahead. So I'm the athlete. I hit my next 4 working sets, and I get to the next exercise. And you can see now, my front squat was programmed as 60% of my back squat 1RM. That was the shared baseline I put in at 300. Doing some quick math. His quick math is quick. 180 is 60% 300. So there we go. It calculated it out. He doesn't see that it's a percentage. He just sees his assignment based off of what you assigned. And there you go. So then it just looks normal from there. But you can see in parentheses after you completed the set, hey, you did 180. That was 60% of the assigned 1 rep max, which was barbell back squat. And on you go. So that in a nutshell, there you go, is all of your differences, I guess you could say, between exercise 1RM and shared 1RM. So just to review it, exercise 1RM allows each individual exercise in your library to have its own 1 rep max to reference in your programming. To set this up, to have a baseline, you have to have a test set. There's no other way to enter an exercise 1RM, so you need that test set at least one time. And then once the exercise has its baseline, it stays. You can use that baseline in any programs you want moving forward. The only time it'll ever change is when you set up a new test set for that specific exercise to update the exercise 1RM. Shared 1RM is a metric in the system that serves as a common reference point. So I can use my shared back squat 1RM across anything I want. I can apply it to deadlift if I want to. So just kind of keeping that in mind. If I enter my shared 1RM back squat, I can apply that to any exercise I want. And that will update with 1 test sets, and it will also update if you go manually in through testing to enter in a physical baseline. And again, referenced earlier in the video, we have an out-of-the-box list of shared baselines. There's a little bit of repetition in there. There's a back squat, there's a squat, there's a chest, a bench press. You can go through your admin portal and you can clean up that list by, like I showed you, going to settings, training, baseline. You can delete baselines you don't want. You can add in new baselines that you want to use in the future and use them as shared baselines. And there you go. So any questions for me on